The Kliq owns this business.
Coming down the aisle, Bimbo Jimbo, baby Huey.
You know that I'm the cream of the crop. Give me a hell yeah.
Today, I've got the style and profile like never before. It's showtime! Woo!
Live and in your face. This is In The Kliq, the microphone alchemist Bimbo Jimbo, alongside my tag team partner, Baby Huey, and we have another special guest today. So this episode figures to be all the way live. Joining us today is a second-generation wrestler, a Rookie of the Year in 2018-2019, member of the New Era Hart Foundation, Brian Pillman Jr. joins the program today. Brian, thank you so much for coming on.
Hey, thank you for having me. It's always a pleasure.
Dude, it is great to talk to you, but unfortunately, with everything going on in the world, we do have to start just with getting an update on how you are doing, how your friends and family are holding up amid this the coronavirus pandemic. Just how are you doing?
We're moving, and we're moving forward. We had a nice family dinner a couple weeks ago, just the three of us. So, everybody's doing good. Everybody's fine. I think as a community, we're all working together to kind of deal with some of the things like rent and stuff like that, and helping take care of our neighbors. So down here in Kentucky, all is pretty good. It's quite peaceful down here. People are still going to the store and stuff and getting what they need done. So as long as people are safe and keep their hands clean, I think we're going to be out of this rut in no time.
I believe that too. I love the optimism, and you mentioned the word community, and one of the things that I noticed during this was the way that sort of the wrestling community has sort of rallied around one another. Have you felt that during this sort of difficult time?
Yeah, it's definitely, because it is one of those things that's quite severely impacted by this stuff, because, the biggest thing with wrestling is socializing and networking and being with different people and different professionals at all different levels. So we can only help each other, virtually now at this point. And I've been very blessed to have a few guys that I sit under their learning tree. They reach out to me and help me out during this time and give me some opportunities for some networking, some social media, stuff like this, podcasts and interviews, anything I can do to keep my face out there, keep my name in the household.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, happy that you're doing it. We love having you on here. Was there ever any doubt in your mind that you wanted to follow in your dad's footsteps and get into the wrestling business?
No, never really a doubt. Just more of a thought in the back of my head that, one day I would get a chance to give this a shot. But, I always played it safe and went to school and did what I could to succeed in a normal capacity. And then finally I couldn't take it anymore, and I knew in the back of my mind I was going to be a wrestler.
Was there anyone that you talked to first before pursuing the dream? Anyone within the business that maybe you sort of, picked their brain about before you really went all in with it?
Yeah, I definitely called Steve up. He was a big part of finally deciding to become a wrestler. He kind of pointed me in the right direction on where to get trained, who to talk to. So Steve Austin was a huge part of my decision to become a wrestler. And then, of course, before beginning my training with Lance Storm, he was also able to provide me with a lot of, precursory knowledge about what I was about to get into and the world I was about to unveil.
That's very cool to hear. So, Brian, just curious, as you just mentioned, Stone Cold Steve Austin, and it's pretty legendary, just the friendship that your father and him had. So just curious, over the years, what's your relationship been like with Steve? Is that something like you text on a regular, check in on, and does he call you out of the blue? Just kind of curious, over the years, how have you guys develop your friendship?
It's one of those things where if I call him, I'm pretty sure he's going to pick up. He always picks up for me. And because of that respect, I do my best not to bother him so often because, I know that every minute counts for a guy like that who's, short on time.
Mm-hmm.
I'm also, dealing with my own schedule, my things going on. So I try to stay in touch with him as much as I can, but, not too much to where he feels like I'm a burden to him, But he always gives me great advice with his time.
Love hearing that. That's my all-time favorite wrestler, so very cool to hear that. And just curious for you, just growing up over the years, and I know you said in other interviews you've kind of you took a few years away from like keeping track of wrestling stuff, but maybe just curious, like growing up and even in more recent years, who were some of your favorite wrestlers that really kind of inspired you to get back into wrestling or just made you fall in love with it again?
Well, as a kid, I was a big fan of the Hardy Boys, and that was also really cool to see them kind of go out on the indies and succeed because as an adult, I didn't really know about the indies, and I didn't really know that there was that sort of that stepping stone to greatness as we've seen,
Mm-hmm.
So many big stars getting signed off the independent circuit. So they were a huge inspiration for me to see them go from there and then just show up at WrestleMania the next weekend. It was kind of cool to see that connection there. And that really, that really tied the dots together for me, on seeing these guys that I grew up watching, and they're going out and they're killing it no matter what the acronym is, It doesn't really matter. This is a business, this is a community. And just seeing Cody Rhodes do his thing was really cool, too, getting a chance to be at a few shows with him and pick his brain a little bit. So lots of really positive influences on me. Chris Jericho, huge influence on my style and my career. Another guy that I've been blessed to be around.
Mm-hmm.
Very, very cool. And you also mentioned Lance Storm earlier, and I'm a big Lance Storm guy myself. You talk about training with him. What was that like? Because, he had a very acclaimed wrestling academy. So just take us through that a little bit.
Yeah, it was just one of those things where it's one of the most professional environments, very structured, as far as timeline. And, it's a whole three-month academy course, Monday through Friday, 9 to 3. So not a slouch program by any means. Physically, you're experiencing, the Calgary climate, so it's a higher elevation. The cardio is a little more intense and things like that. But I was totally up for the challenge, and due to my background in sports and in college and stuff, so I had a pretty good background going into it, and it wasn't as hard of a challenge for me just because of my natural genetics as well. So.
Love hearing that. So we're talking to Brian Pillman Jr., one of the many stars from MLW. We love Major League Wrestling, and you can catch their weekly show, MLW Fusion, Saturday nights on beIN Sports and also on YouTube. I love tuning in every week for you guys. And a big episode coming this Saturday. It's going to be a reunion of sorts of the Hart Foundation, you and Davey Boy Smith Jr. So it's going to be part of it's been an ongoing series the last few weeks of MLW and AAA, the Super Series event. So, Brian, can you just give us a little bit of preview of what we can tune in for this coming Saturday?
Is that to be the AAA showdown match?
Yes.
I believe in Tijuana, Mexico. So yeah, you're going to see a Brian Pillman Jr. that is very confident and very developed in his form, and you're going to see a guy that comes out and is ready to take on the challenge. Anytime I go to another country or experience another style, I'm always up to the challenge of learning new things and ultimately winning the match. And you'll just have to find out how that goes for me by tuning in.
Absolutely, we will. And we are talking about the Hart Foundation a little bit here. And one of the unique things about that is that it's this rare second-generation faction, which I just think is so cool. But how did the recreation of the Hart Foundation really come together? Was it all systems go? What kind of approval did you have to get? Was there any sort of trepidation or hesitation about rebooting it?
There was definitely some hesitation on my end coming into the business as a youngster and not wanting to step on anybody's shoes or incur any ill will or any heat, as you might say. So when MLW, who had the original idea to do this, approached me about it, they, I of course was hesitant, but at the end of the day, all the rights were there. Everything was approved. Davey Boy Smith, with him on board with it, and just looking at all the pieces fall into place, we just created some magic. It was really organic from there on out. Once I stepped in the ring with those guys and got to experience what they really wanted to get out of me and what my value was, once I realized what I was there for, it all started coming together,
Now, we love everything that you guys have been doing thus far. So just curious, though, with you and Davey Boy Smith Jr. in MLW, any plans or maybe any ideas being thrown out there, maybe adding more members to the current lineup of the Hart Foundation?
There's been some talk of that in the past. I know that Petty has tried numerous times to increase the roster, so to speak, of the new Hart Foundation, but that has been against the will of Davey Boy, who may or may not be in approval of that. So I'm not the final word on it all, but I do believe that Davey Boy is. So it's up to Davey Boy to decide if somebody's tough enough to get into the Hart Foundation. We can't just let anybody in. You know what I mean? They got to go through the gauntlet. They got to go through the ringer. And I think they got to get in the ring with Davey Boy and earn his respect before they can just go around and, claim to be Hart Foundation, because that could be very disrespectful to the family as a whole,
Gotcha. No, absolutely. I totally get that. So just, Brian, if you care to kind of open up a little bit, just for you, what's been kind of some of the challenging aspects of entering the wrestling business as a second-generation wrestler?
It's definitely been a great hurdle as far as the pressure to perform and being in a completely new environment. But as far as being a second generation, it's a very unique opportunity. It's a unique opportunity for promoters and fans as well to latch on to a very true, very real story. Mm-hmm. And that's why wrestling was always so organic for me, was because I knew I had something real and I didn't have to change my name or act or fake some gimmick. I knew why I was going out there into the ring every single time, and I'm 100% confident in every match I have because of that. So it was just kind of meant to be in a sense, and all the challenges that have faced me have been expected, and they've only made me stronger, and they've made me better at performing my craft. So I think I can only get better from here, especially coming back from this off season, as we will say. And shaking off some of that ring rust.
Amen to that. And I do think that is a positive way of looking at it in terms of just an ability for you performers to, get to heal a little bit, which is a luxury that you're not often afforded. The other side of that is the pandemic has sadly, put things so on hold that wrestling's kind of at this standstill in a lot of senses. And, we never want to see anyone lose their job, but we all know that there has been a recent influx of free agent talent into the wrestling industry. Is there anyone on that list of maybe newly released WWE talent that you would particularly like to see in MLW, or that you personally would like to face in the ring?
I don't like to make wish lists and dream matches and stuff, because I think I should be looking to perform at the highest level for every match.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
No matter who my opponent is, I'm not trying to fanboy for anybody, but as far as our strength within the Hart Foundation and within MLW and me and Davey Boy are concerned, it's always been a particular rival of ours, the Revival. We would love to face the Revival.
Nice.
And that's a group of guys that we've had a lot of respect for.
That would be a main event anywhere in the world, as they say. Just sort of keeping that track.
It'd be nice under MLW banner.
Yeah, absolutely. Hell yeah, no doubt about that. And that would be tremendous to see. You're still so young in your career, but do you have any ultimate goals in wrestling that you want to achieve that you can share with us?
My long-term, way down the road goals, I haven't even begun to materialize those yet. I do have some very close term, goals. I have some very important goals that are in the very near future that I'm working towards. And it starts with becoming the middleweight title, the MLW middleweight title.
Mm-hmm.
And then a little further down the road, I need to start pushing to become the world champion. So it is a lot. It is a very ambitious thing to say, but I do think that I'm the guy that's going to be taking over these next couple of years. I think I'm going to be holding a lot of championships and a lot of different independent federations. Mm-hmm. But I think the most important ones would be to hold all the gold in MLW.
Yeah.
Love hearing that. That's very true. Excited to look forward to, just because currently you're ranked number 4 as far as the top 10 contenders for the MLW Heavyweight Championship. So looking forward to what you can get into later on this year. But just curious, from your perspective, and Jimbo and I, we love MLW. We love tuning in every week. We love watching it on YouTube as well. So make sure to subscribe to their YouTube page. And I just love the vibe that MLW has. It's kind of hard to explain. I kind of maybe compare it to ECW, and that's where I kind of feel like MLW has that feel to a little bit. Right now we have a lot of promotions existing, but I feel like MLW right now is a really special, hidden gem, hidden treasure in the whole landscape of things. So what would you say to someone that maybe hasn't seen the MLW product yet, that's maybe curious about getting into it and start watching it every week? What is your opinion that you think that people would maybe really gravitate towards and enjoy about MLW?
I think MLW is really cool. I think we are, in every sense of the word, the underground show. Mm-hmm. We're the show that the cool people watch. The fans that are really into wrestling, have a lot of respect for wrestling, and aren't going to settle for overproduced stuff. They're not going to settle for the phony stuff and the hokey crap. We have a good variety. We have the lucha, we have hardcore, we have some of the most competitive technical matches in wrestling, and we have an exclusive roster. So it's really hard to tell someone that's brand new to wrestling to tell them all the good things about MLW, because it takes a very experienced fan to appreciate MLW. It takes a very advanced mind to watch it. And I think we're not more of a beginner show. Mm-hmm. Maybe you should watch something else until you're, at least understanding of wrestling enough to understand multiple styles going on on a show, so.
Yeah, no, I totally get that. And that's something I really love. And this is something I've told Jimbo before. It's like MLW as of late, I really has kind of reignited my love for wrestling as a fan watching it. And listen, we all know every promotion tries to be different, kind of does their own little form of world building, creating their own universe that each fan tune in for to see. And I love that, like I said, the vibe and what you guys have been doing with MLW, from the production value, the ring setup, the backstage segments, the altercations backstage or in the parking lot, all that stuff. I really enjoy it. And so I just kind of more curious, who can we is the brainchild behind it all? Is it Court Bauer? Is there someone else that we should be giving big props to right now for all of this? And just how MLW has been really just, since its revival in the last couple of years, it's just taken off and such a hot product to tune in for.
I think it's a perfect storm of things, that are happening. And I don't think any one credit belongs to anyone. I think, the timing of me getting into wrestling and being at an immature state meant that I could grow, and I could grow within a company like MLW, which is geared towards growing and building new stars. So I was a perfect fit, for the company. And I think it was just the cards were falling in place with Davey Boy and Teddy as well. All these elements combined at one point, and they created some pretty magical moments. And, obviously a lot of that respect goes to Court Bauer. I think a lot of his ideas are what come to life on the screen that you see,
Very, very well said. Great stuff, Brian Pillman Jr. Thank you so much for coming on. And fans, listeners, be sure to check out Brian Pillman Jr. on Pro Wrestling Tees and give him your support. We are so excited for everything that the future holds for you, Brian. And, be well. And just, thanks again for making the time today.
No, thank you guys for having me and giving me a chance to, spread my voice during this time that I'm not able to wrestle. So
thank you, Brian, so much. We appreciate it.
That was Brian Pillman Jr. of MLW, of course, second-generation wrestler, son of the legendary Brian Pillman. Now he's the new Hart Foundation. That was a lot of fun talking to him, Baby Huey.
Absolutely. It's pretty amazing to get to talk to him, just because you and I have talked about this off the air, but in the last couple of years, I've definitely been following him, and thank you to my brother for telling me about him. That he's like, I remember him telling me a couple years ago, it's like, hey, Brian Pillman Jr., Brian Pillman's son, he's wrestling now. And so we started following him on social media and just keeping track of everything he's been doing and just all the work he's been doing in MLW thus far. It's been very entertaining. And next time he comes to the Bay Area, we definitely got to go see him in person, meet him in person. And I'm looking forward to everything he can do in the wrestling business. He's still so young and
incredibly young, and just the sky is really the limit for him. And it is a cool story to see him, following in his dad's footsteps. And, gosh, his dad is one of the big, what ifs in pro wrestling history. If he had, not tragically passed away, just what he would have been able to do. So it is a cool story to see Brian Jr. pick up the mantle, carry the torch for his dad. And, we really do wish him all the best. And, this is a really cool bonus episode. The shelter in place content that In The Kliq is providing all the Kliqsters out there, I'm really quite proud of. So thank you again to Brian Pillman Jr.
I was going to say real quick, because, we always talk about quarantine and chill, like what to watch on TV while we're all in shelter in place. So definitely catch up on MLW Fusion. It's really fun to watch. Our buddy AJ Kirsch does commentary as well for them. And it's such a fun show. And I think they have such a talented roster that's currently signed with them. Our boy Jacob Fatu, the Von Erichs, Mance Warner. Just an amazing amount of people have been wrestling for them over the last couple of years. So I can't say enough of good things. And Jimbo, I will say this. You know how it's been on record, you said how Lucha Underground really inspired you and your love for wrestling again. I definitely want to say MLW's done that for me in recent time, just tuning in every week. And like I said, the world building that they've done, the MLW umbrella that they cast out there, and just how entertaining the shows are, the storylines, who's wrestling every week.
It's funny that you say that, because what actually got me into MLW in the first place was the fact that they started using some of the Lucha talent.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's what cued me to check them out. And I was like, wow, this is a really, really good product. So hats off to them. We'll have to get our buddy AJ Kirsch on next to talk about it, because it is always such a thrill now hearing him on the call for MLW. But that is going to do it for this very special bonus episode of In The Kliq. For Baby Huey, I'm Bimbo Jimbo. And remember, if you're not in the Kliq, see ya. And I wouldn't want to be ya.